What's up, guys? It's your friendly neighborhood Yu-Gi-Oh! Superhero, Bit 2000 Wagio, but today I may not be so friendly, so stick around. Alright, so first things first, I gotta get this out of the way. You guys have probably noticed, hey Ben, you're a little late, you dick. You were supposed to make a video like yesterday. What the hell happened? Thanksgiving. This year I was kind of in charge of the whole Thanksgiving thing this year. So, and my camera is getting all sorts of gross. Anyway, I digress. So I was in charge of Thanksgiving in my home, so some things happened. If you want to know some of the weirdness that happened beforehand that caused things to go awry, just check out my other channel, the Unbound Series channel. So, if the title of the video didn't give it away, we're talking controversial opinions in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! This video was inspired by DZ, who made a video about it. So we're, like I said, we're talking controversial opinions, and I'm going to share a handful of my own with you guys. Now, before I get into that, there are some rules I'm going to state right now, a little caveat here. These are merely my opinions. You don't have to agree with them. I won't even ask my audience to agree with them. I don't see a point in that. I think we all have our own opinions about the game, and they're perfectly fine. So, some controversial opinions that I'm going to have. First one being, Konami never seems to get the ban list right. Am I the only one who thinks that certain cards in the game should be legal and certain cards in the game should be banned, and Konami never seems to get them right? Now, would I make a criticism of Konami like that without a solution? Yes, I do have one. I think there should be a committee that determines the Yu-Gi-Oh! Ban list, and they should be made up of Yu-Gi-Oh! Players. Specifically, I speak English sometimes, 3 types of Yu-Gi-Oh! Players. 1, you should have a number of them be casual players, a number of them to be competitive players, and a number of them to be somewhere in the middle. Now, that being said, that middle ground could be like Duel Links players or whatever, but the idea is you have 3 players. Let's say in this hypothetical solution to my said critique of Konami with my controversial opinion there, we had, like, say, 9 of them all together, 3, 3, and 3, obviously. So the idea there is that, you know, you would actually get a comprehensive ban list where cards that are supposed to be banned actually get banned. And cards that are supposed to be unbanned, like yesterday, should have been unbanned like yesterday. So, there you go. That would be my solution, and these people would be made up of actual players of the game, and not, you know, Konami R&D or people who are only playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Because they get paid to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Number 2 controversial opinion. I think power creep should be something of the past. I think that every deck should go, as you guys know in Yu-Gi-Oh! We have like a tier system. Usually it seems to be we got 0, 1, 2, and 3. And if you're a 3, forget it, your deck is trash, utter garbage. You know, it will never succeed competitively speaking. I think that we should never have a tier 0 in there, but that's another topic for another day. But we should definitely have tier 1 decks and tier 2 decks. Now, what do I mean by that is every tier 2 deck should have the ability to keep up, at least at a regional level. And I think that if my answer to fix this, is obviously making new rules, errata in cards, ban list. I mean, there's a number of ways to fix the power creep in the game to where everything that is not tier 1 is now bumped up to tier 2. So, that is one of my controversial opinions. I personally think that everything that is not tier 1 should be tier 2. Which means, and the power creep difference should be like this. This should be your difference. You know, not this, which is what it really is. Like, here's tier 1, here's tier 2. And then you got tier 3, like, off camera. I think they should all be like that. That's my second controversial opinion. Now, the third controversial opinion of mine is that this is the one that's going to be the most controversial opinion out of my opinions. Obviously, as you guys know, there are elitists in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! We have competitive elites and we have casual elites. Basically, these two people are elitist in their own right, and they're both toxic as hell. I think that every Yu-Gi tuber has made a video about toxic Yu-Gi-Oh players, and they're in the elites category, and they're in the casuals category, or I should say camp, whatever, however you want to look at the dynamic, right? However, this is my caveat to that. Though I agree that these elites exist in both camps, and they are equally toxic, I still think that if there was a way to quantify these players, like figure out, okay, who's a toxic Yu-Gi-Oh player of the competitive side and who's a toxic player of the casual side, you would see that probably one side has more members than the other. And I'm willing to bet that it's going to be over here on the competitive angle. That's right, I said it. I'm just saying, if you want to compare who has the most assholes, from my experience, and I'm basing this purely on circumstantial evidence, so you can feel free to agree or disagree, because there's no way to really track this, because it's just not something we can quantify. But from my personal experience, it seems to me that out of all the players that I have met that are casual and competitive, and some that are, and most of the ones that I've met in the middle between them all, there's more asshole competitive players than there are casual players that are jerks. Just stating a fact. Out of all the players I've met. And usually the casual players that are assholes, they're usually not assholes because of the Yu-Gi-Oh game. It's usually the stuff outside of Yu-Gi-Oh that makes them an asshole. But that's neither here nor there. The point that I'm trying to make is, it looks, if I was to take a guess at who I think has the most number of toxic Yu-Gi-Oh players, I'm going to say it's the competitive camp. Now, this is the caveat to that. There is no real solution to this one. Toxicity in Yu-Gi-Oh is like toxicity in anything in life. It doesn't matter what, where you go, there's always going to be toxic people in the game or in life in general. So the best thing that you can do is just learn to deal with it, learn the arguments that shut them down. I mean, there are arguments for both sides to shut them down. I'm sure I've heard a number of competitive players say things, well, like, how many tops do you have? And I've heard many of casual players say, like, standard arguments like, and what do your tops get you in the real world? I mean, both of those are valid criticisms. So, that's neither here nor there. I'm not here to disparage any of you. The point that I'm trying to make is that every one of these Yu-Gi-Oh players, that's just going to be something that in any facet of life we're going to have to deal with elitist. And the best way to deal with an elitist is just to, either not talk to them or beat them in an argument. Either way, I leave that up to you to figure out how to handle that. And if you are a competitive player, just know that I'm most likely not talking about you specifically, and maybe not your friends. I have met a handful of competitive players that were nothing but friendly. If you look at Billy Brake as a prime example, the man has never been, if you're looking for a competitive player to be a role model for, he's the perfect example. I've met him a few times at various events. He's always looks at the goofy deck I come with and give me a little bit of pointers here and there, and he's always friendly every time. He's the perfect example of how a competitive player should be composing themselves, and I've met a number of casual players who obviously realize that maybe playing competitively just isn't for them. They'd rather just play goofy decks with their friends, and that's perfectly a-okay. However you choose to conduct your Yu-Gi-Oh is up to you, and I think that there's multiple ways to play the game, whether it's creating crazy rules for you and your friends, Duel Links, with just being YGO Pro, or playing a competitive tournaments. It's all up to you, and I think they're all valid answers on that front. But anyway, had to kind of positive it up a little bit after throwing you all that negative. I wouldn't be your friendly Yu-Gi-Oh superhero if I didn't try to bring it back full circle, right? Anyway, guys, so here's my question to you guys. That was 3 of my controversial opinions. Make sure you let me know what your controversial opinions are. You can leave 1, you can leave 3, whatever. Just leave them in the comments below. And let me know what you guys think. Oh, real quick before we get out of here, I want to reiterate the rules. Be friendly, be nice, no arguing. If you are rude unnecessarily, I will lay down the smackdown. I have the power to mute you, and I will use it. So I'm just giving you fair warning. Be nice. And with that being said, I will see you guys hopefully later this week with some regular Yu-Gi-Oh content. Because let's face it, you guys would probably rather have something like a deck profile or YGO replay, something a little more silly and what you're used to, but this was the best I could do with a little bit of time that I had. So, forgive me, your regular scheduled programs will be back in full swing very soon. And until then, I'll see you guys next time. Peace!